Hey everyone, welcome back to the You're Not Finished podcast. My name is Brittany Franklin. I am the host of this podcast. Welcome back for those of you who have continued to listen despite me not putting out any content for the last few months. Thank you so much for being consistent when I am not. It is noticed, it is appreciated, and I want to shout out everybody who has continued to support You're Not Finished up until this point. I'll go into detail why it's been so long in a minute, but I just want to shout out new listeners and kind of give a brief overview of what You're Not Finished is for the start of 2024 for those who are just encountering You're Not Finished for the first time. So You're Not Finished started off as a blog in 2012. Over time, that became a resource for people to be able to share their stories, people who struggled with mood disorders, mental illnesses, suicide ideation, and who had survived suicide attempts. People were sending in video submissions, anonymous submissions, everything like that. It started to become a safe space for a small but wonderful community. The problem at that time was that I wasn't the person that I should have been to be able to maintain You're Not Finished at the time. I was an alcoholic. I was struggling with my own suicidal thoughts and ideation. I had just came off of a suicide attempt in 2011, and I didn't even process the events leading up to that or the foundation behind that attempt. And so I was just kind of running until I couldn't run anymore. And so I took a break for a little bit. And I got the therapy that I needed. I changed my environment. I surrounded myself with safe people. I got the education. I got my degree at Azusa Pacific University in psychology. And just started to work on myself to become the leader of You're Not Finished that I needed to be. And so You're Not Finished has become more consistent. And I use that word lightly for those of you who understand why I'm using that word lightly, but more consistent since 2019 with bi-weekly blogs. And in 2021, the first episode of the podcast was released. And so You're Not Finished, in general, just to give you the gist, is a mental health and suicide prevention blog and podcast and organization that provides encouraging and insightful resources, free or otherwise. I do connect Christianity and biblical principles to mental health just because the church in general and historically has had a huge issue with mishandling people who struggle with mental illness, with suicidal thoughts and ideation. And even mishandling families who have experienced a loved one who died by suicide. And so I just want to be, through You're Not Finished, a beacon of hope and light for that, sharing how God feels about mental health. That being said, anything I have to offer is not just for people who subscribe to the Christian faith. Anyone, regardless of religion they subscribe to, if any, can benefit from anything that I have to share through You're Not Finished. So I just want to put that out there. This is not discriminatory in nature. You're Not Finished is for everybody. Let's get to these updates. It's going to be a short episode today just because we'll get into the meat and potatoes of subject matter in later episodes. I just want to give some brief updates for the start of 2024. I'm really excited I'm a little bit nervous about sharing these updates, if I'm honest, but I think they will be beneficial to the growth of You're Not Finished as a community and organization. The first update is that there will be more empowering, encouraging, and educational content finally on a consistent basis. The reason why is because I've actually, since October, been putting in the work to become a better, more grounded and stable individual on the back end, to be the solid leader that I need to be for You're Not Finished to succeed. The reason why since October is because unexpectedly and unfortunately, we experienced the loss of a family member by suicide. It's not something anyone expected, like I said, and who expects that, right? But that happening completely shifted my perspective on every single aspect of my life. And it caused me to look inward at myself, especially as someone who not only has struggled with suicidal ideation, but has actually attempted suicide on multiple occasions. It caused me to look at myself and actually challenge myself to be a better individual. And it shouldn't have taken my cousin's death to do that. It really shouldn't have. And I feel horrible that that is what kind of jarred my brain into really trying to think straight. The events surrounding that were very eye-opening for me. How we've been able to like move on. I mean, we're supposed to move forward, but just how we've been able to move on as a collective has been kind of bothering me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But I also want to be respectful to the fact that people grieve differently and things like that. And understand that this event is still being processed. It's a forever process, right? Especially, I mean, death in general is extremely hard to deal with. Death by suicide is, there's even more levels to it. And so I want to be sensitive to my cousins and extended family, those who are closest to my cousin and what happened, by not talking about it through any kind of platform, um, especially not until it's been fully processed. So, but understand that that event has changed my life. It's caused me to reevaluate what is important and what isn't important. It caused me to realize that I have put way too much effort, energy, and time into things that are not worth my effort, energy, and time. I have built up a system for myself that will inevitably cause me to fail. And so I need to just break down that entire system, kill the whole. Sometimes you need to break down the whole system and start it completely over. And that's exactly what I did beginning in October on a personal level. And obviously that's going to cause changes to You're Not Finished. And so I'm excited to implement those changes. You'll see a difference in me personally and in You're Not Finished, the organization, in the coming weeks, months, and hopefully years. The second change is that You're Not Finished is going back to be community oriented. I'm really excited about this because I think that with everything that's going on in the world, community absolutely needs to be the central focus of You're Not Finished. Survivors need to be able to come to a safe space, to be able to share their stories, to be able to connect with others so they can feel seen, heard, and understood. And so You're Not Finished needs to be that safe space. It needs to go back to that. It was something that made You're Not Finished successful in 2012 and 2013. And so I need to go back to that. It needs to be more authentic. And I'm excited to make that change. Again, whether it's 5 people or 500, whether it's 200 people, or 2 people. It does not matter. I will continue to move forward regardless of quantity because it's all about quality. The third and final change is that giveaways are going to be on pause for now. I had this lofty goal of having a giveaway winner in each state, that the heart of You're Not Finished, the name, and the brand would reach the nation as a whole, one person at a time. The problem with these giveaways, especially for the last few times, is that it has attracted people who just want something and just want to win. Now, yes, okay, like that's normal. You're giving something away, there's no real strings attached. There's actually no strings attached at all. And so people want to win. Like, I want to win stuff. I buy lottery tickets for the purpose of winning. Like, so I understand that. The problem is that people only being drawn to giveaways or having giveaways be the most engaged with content drowns out the heart of You're Not Finished. It leaves behind the faithful people who came to You're Not Finished for the heart of it and not for what it could provide. And so I want to build the community first. I want to get real insight on what that community needs and then provide pointed resources to that community to have a bigger impact for mental health and suicide prevention. It makes the most sense to do it that way from an organizational standpoint. It also makes sense to do it that way from a financial standpoint because, I'm putting in my personal finances. I'm not raising any money or anything like that. And so I'm putting in my personal finances to be able to do these giveaways. And it's just not financially sound for me to do that anymore. So from an organizational standpoint, as far as the mission and from a financial standpoint, it makes the most sense to just completely pause the giveaways. The good thing about pausing giveaways too is that whoever came just for the giveaways will naturally leave. And that'll be an even safer space for those who really need what You're Not Finished has to offer. So that's basically it. Those are the 3 major changes. I'm excited for how that's going to evolve You're Not Finished. And I'm excited for you as the listener to be able to grow from that content as well. Just to give you a quick sneak peek of the next topic that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be talking about the International House of Prayer scandal out of Kansas City. Scandal makes it sound like really just salacious and just ugly. And it actually is. It's really egregious because it involves someone in a position of power abusing that power to allegedly sexually abuse, prophetically manipulate multiple women and patrons. And so you'll understand why it's important to me, but I think this is important to talk about. A lot of people have already been talking about it. They've been talking about it from a sense of more shining the light on Mike Bickle, who was the founder and leader of that organization. He is no longer that. The executive leadership team and how they mishandled this whole scandal. And that's fine. But I think it's also important to talk about the mental, spiritual, and emotional effects it can have on people who, A, experienced the abuse, B, people who are connected to the house of prayer in one way or another, C, those who are watching from afar, and how this draws people away from Christianity, especially as we look at multiple instances where allegations of sexual abuse and misconduct have been completely mishandled. We can look at Ravi Zacharias, the Hillsong scandal, TB Joshua. Apparently, those are just some names. If you don't know who those people are, just Google them and you'll understand the severity of their actions, alleged and confirmed. And so I really want to talk about the mental, emotional, and spiritual impact, because it has even larger implications and consequences than we realize. And a lot of people aren't talking about this. And so, and again, you'll understand why it is important to me to talk about this as well, and why I'm glad I actually waited until now to talk about this, because this has been something that's been going on since October, but I'm glad I've waited until a lot more information has come out, as well as allowing myself to process everything that's gone on. So that'll be the next episode, the IHOP KC House of Prayer Kansas City scandal and its connection to our mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you need additional resources for mental health, addiction, and suicide prevention, head over to the Get Help section at you'renotfinished.com. If you want to share your experience or tell your story or journey as someone with a diagnosed mental health or mood disorder, someone who has experienced distress and suicidal ideation, and you want to use that story to encourage others, and if you're okay with that being shared on the You're Not Finished website, shoot me an email to stories@you'renotfinished.com or contact me through the website. Anonymous submissions are always welcome. Thank you so much again for listening. I appreciate you all very much for continuing to listen. You guys are amazing. Have a great day and finish well.